Hello there, this is Nathaniel, psychic medium, here with your guidance for this full moon for the 6th of April 2023. All my messages for this full moon are guided by spirit. I am not an astrologer, so these messages are channeled messages of inspiration from the world of spirit for all of us as a collective. The initial impression I'm getting when I tune into the energy of this full moon is a feeling of a portal opening, a doorway. The moon is seemingly like this spotlight on the earth at this time, and I'm getting this image of the moon like an actual spotlight. And it's less about this spotlight just being about illuminating things, and it's feeling more like a signaling light. It's feeling more like the spotlight is on every one of us, saying now is a time of major transition. Are you going to stay the same, or are you going to change? Are you going to transform and close the old book and open the new one, the new chapter, or are you going to remain the same? It doesn't feel like a message of caution. It simply feels like a natural shift in the cosmos right now, a natural shift in the energy of humanity right now, but it really does feel night and day different, this shift. It almost feels as though we are, through this full moon energy, entering into a new reality, a new space of being, almost as though we are being brand new. And it's as though the moon is acting as this marker of this change. It's almost as though it stands between the old and the new, like this door that is literally sealing the old and making way for the new in a way that is very final. And so this spotlight energy that's on us, it really does feel like a calling card to all of us. It feels like it's saying, okay, it is the time now in nature and in the universe for major cosmic transitions and major shifts in the consciousness of all life. And for you personally as an individual, it really does feel like it's saying to you that it is time now to shed the old skin, and also that you've not really got any choice, because the energy is so strong and powerful at this full moon that you are, without exception, going to be affected by this shift, and so it will drag you along with it if you do not go marching on willingly. The imagery I'm getting with this full moon is very much shrouded in darkness, and not in the negative sense, but more in the sense of there being this space of a vacuum, this kind of vacuum-like space between the energy we are in before the full moon and the energy we're entering in after. And the full moon itself is acting like this transition, but it's very, very, it feels very on the mark. It doesn't feel like a gradual thing. It feels very much like it's a signal, like a light that's just coming on, almost as though the lights have come on to end Act 1 and begin Act 2 on the stage. It's very much like the old is done now, and whether you're ready or not, the new is beginning. And if you include the old in with the new, it's just going to feel very strange to you. Your life is going to feel very muddled. You're going to feel as though you're not really in reality. You're going to feel as though you're a little bit existentially confused, ungrounded. Things will feel trippy and surreal. Your daily life will just feel like it's living out before your eyes, and you're kind of being dragged along with it. It will feel like your thoughts are thinking themselves. It will feel like you're an automaton, just a guest inside your body as you're trying to navigate life and hold it down. Whereas if you just make this very subtle shift, it's not about making massive big leaps and taking drastic actions in a desperate attempt to change your life. It's about getting your consciousness oriented with this shift and angling yourself from the point of view of, okay, I may not have full awareness of everything I'm needing to change and everything I'm needing to do, but I'm leaning into this energy, this calling of, okay, springboarding into a new space. And it's not just about, oh, we're moving on, we're changing. It literally feels like something completely different. It just feels like one play has finished and another one is beginning. It almost feels as though it's completely different. It's as though a play has been going on, a film has been going on, and then this light has come on, and then something completely different is starting, a completely different kind of event, and it's very, very much worlds apart. So it does feel like this massive split between who we once were and who we're deciding we are now. I'm getting a lot of imagery of black and white. Black and white is representative of the intersection between worlds. It really does represent this shifting between one dimension and into another. It's very much about going from one space into a completely different space, and that representative black and white color, like the checkerboard black and white color, it's very much a representation of shifting through that dimension in a way where you are completely cleared of the old and you're into a new space. Very much like we had the experience of coming from spirit into the earth realm. It's just a completely new experience, a new transition. This full moon, you may feel as though those activities that you once were enjoying, those things that you were able to gain fulfillment from, those things that were once replenishing you or giving you a high, or coping mechanisms that were once working, all of a sudden, literally overnight, bam, they stop working. They no longer fulfill, they no longer replenish, they feel like dead energy. And this is what this moon energy is really trying to bring in with regards to this shift, this transition. It's trying to bring in this sense of killing off the old. It really does feel like the old is just being erased, stopped, finished, cancelled out. And it doesn't feel like it's violent or aggressive or intense or forceful from the universe. It just feels like this is just the time. It's no longer 12 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock. It's just shifted, it's just different. And if you're including anything that you're trying to let go of and you're hanging on to into this kind of shift into the new space, the result for you, it's gonna feel as though you cannot gain any fulfillment in your life, and as though you're trying to hang on to some sort of level of safety or some sort of level of relief or comfort, and it's just not working. And then the alternative for that is kind of going into this new space, which will feel to you just like this void, like you're kind of being lost within yourself, that you're lost in life, that you don't know what to do, you don't know where you're going, where you are, who you are. It'll almost feel very overwhelming, as though you are just losing yourself, like you as though your consciousness is just no longer making sense, as though you're feeling lost in reality. And it's only because you're still focusing on these old spaces, and I'm sort of seeing things like addictions and coping mechanisms that you're identified with, that are connected to old spaces, old behaviors, old ways of being, and you can feel the shift to go into a new space. And if you're hanging on to that, bringing it into the new space is like oil and water. It just cannot mix, and you'll be caught in between. And it's as though this full moon spotlight type of effect is kind of holding everything in the old in this vacuum of black, and it won't go into the new. And it's like you can sort of feel yourself going into the new energy, but it's holding you back into that void if you're trying to bring in anything that's redundant into that new energy, and you won't be able to align with that new energy in a way that feels harmonious, satisfying and comfortable for you. And so you'll feel between worlds, not even between worlds, you'll literally feel half in, half out of life, as though half of you is dead and half of you is alive, and no one wants to live feeling like they're half alive. So this moon energy is really saying quite assertively, it's done. You have to let go. You have no choice, because this is what you want. This is what your soul wants. This is the order of the day. You have to end the old now. It cannot be in the future. It's like trying to stay drinking breast milk when you're an adult. You don't need it anymore. You need to move on from this now. That phase is done. And if you include it, it's going to make you highly dysfunctional, and it will almost mutate you, almost make you strange, make you funny, make you so off kilter that it will just not work for you to exist in this reality in a functional way. You'll just be all over the place. You might even enter depressions. You might even feel like you don't want to be here in the world. But it's not because anything's going wrong within you as a person and life is trying to say how much of a mess you are. It's because you're hanging on. It's literally because you're hanging on to old energy. And if you don't know what that is, then you're needing to be a bit meditative and really feel into your body and into your sense of self to find out, what is it about myself that I'm still identified with, that I'm needing to move on from? How can I lean into that newness? Or what is it with my physical actions and my behaviors, my habits and my routines that I need to do the same, move on from and into the new with? Or people, or the ways I show up with people, how I am expressing myself, who I tell people I am, who I am associating and affiliating with. The words that I speak, are they matching the energy that's coming through me, calling me into a space of alignment with the real me? Is what I'm saying and what I'm doing actually matching this, or am I a walking contradiction? It really does feel quite major, this full moon energy. It doesn't feel as though it's going to bring bad things. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels major. It just feels like a momentous event, like it's, like just a big event that affects everybody, like the New Year energy, just things like this. It's just feels very much like a big transition, a big crossover. And it's just lovingly calling us, but at the same time lovingly preventing us from bringing in anything from the old. It just won't fit. Your life won't work if you're trying to bring in anything in the old. If you're trying to sort of subtly on the low key make things work and still on the surface of reality try to, be like a duck swimming peaceful in the water while your legs are paddling fast under the surface, it's just not going to work. Your life will collapse. It will have, in the areas of where you're still including the old, it will just collapse. It just won't work. It won't be a match. It will feel to you like you are trying to light a match under the ocean. It can't happen. It's just not going to work. The imagery I'm getting from Spirit is they're showing me a cinema screen with the countdown before they play the reel, the 5, 4, 3, and the dud, dud, dud. And the impression I'm getting from this, it's this sense of you've been in life before you watch a film. You're kind of distracted by what you've been doing. You're not really immersed in the film, in the movie that's about to be seen, into this new kind of experience. But then the countdown begins. You orient yourself with your attention to pay attention to what the screen is going to reveal, what the new experience is going to be. The countdown goes to 0 and then it begins. And it feels as though this full moon energy is that countdown. It's going 5, 4, 3. And in that space of time, it's like, okay, shed, let go, and pay attention to the new now. I'm also getting images of caterpillars leaving their cocoons and becoming butterflies. And it's about transformation. But the message from Spirit is really talking about how you can't use that cocoon anymore. You ain't fit in it. It's just not going to work. It's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. You're just not going to be able to do it. And you're going to beat yourself up and drive yourself into a hole attempting to do so. I'm getting this impression from Spirit at this full moon as well, that all across the world, social systems, economic systems, financial systems, structures in the world, political structures, structures of culture, even structures within family and friendships and relationships, they're all shifting as a result of this. And so don't be surprised if overnight you find yourself becoming incompatible with someone, incompatible with a place in which you work, unable to no longer even participate or tolerate or even be there. And then you might find yourself thinking, well, now what do I do? And so the energy is going to be revealing itself to you as the full moon tapers off into the new. And so over this course of time between the full and the new moon, it's beneficial for you to be in a receptive space in terms of your life purpose, a receptive space in terms of your identity, and a receptive space in terms of how life is trying to feed back to you who you really are through your experiences with others, through your experiences with the things that you put your effort into, with your life's work, your life's efforts. And there's going to be a lot of mirroring coming through to you to kind of really confirm this new space of being that you're being invited into. And it does feel very much like, okay, I'm no longer doing that job because my life purpose is to be an artist. I'm no longer working at that restaurant because I know I'm being called to be a nurse. I'm no longer hanging out with those people because I know that clubbing and drinking is just not for me anymore. I'm no longer going to be affiliating with those family members because, you know what, I'm done playing with those interpersonal conflicts. That's not how I want to live my life, and I want to create harmony for myself. And if other people are not going to participate in this, then I have to move on and leave them where they are for now. If you're feeling like you are really attached to something, some kind of body of work, some sort of mission, or even like a legacy that you've been sort of living and carrying out, don't be surprised if all of a sudden you just become disidentified with it. You just become totally detached from it, and it might be quite jarring and traumatic for you, because you might then feel brand new in a sense of feeling vulnerable, like an infant, not knowing where to go, and then feeling as though the old is no longer belonging to you. But Spirit's saying, well, it's still yours. You still lived that life. You still made those imprints. You still made that stamp. You still had those life lessons. You still went through those journeys. You still felt those emotions and thought those thoughts. It was still you, but you're changing now. You're evolving, you're growing, and you have no choice now. You've been given a lot of warning and indication and preliminary guidance about these shifts that are very powerful at this time in our collective timeline, and also just at this time of the year with the spring energy, but also just in terms of the awakening of humanity and how it's kind of blossoming and flourishing and unfolding and peaking. We've been being given so much information about this, so many calling cards and signposts and messages telling us, okay, come forth, and now it's just happening. There's the nature of the energy is very much one of pure power for me. It just feels like it's just moving whether you're ready or not. It's almost as though we're riding this current and we're on these rafts, and if you're not ready, those waves are going to come and you're going to need to ride those waves. And if you don't, your raft is going to be turfed upside down, but you're not going to be taken away from your raft. You're not going to be pulled under into the ocean and drowned. It's not that life is doing this to us. What happens is that we struggle with the raft, we struggle with the journey, we struggle with that shift, and then in our struggle we get caught up, we can't catch a breath, and we drown ourselves, and we start to feel like it's life doing this. But life is just moving, and we are life, meant to move with it. And so if we don't move with it, it's like we're at loggerheads with life. We're kind of separating ourselves from it. So it's almost, if you were to put it in a really bare bones, blunt way, it's either are you in life or are you in death? Are you committed to your life or are you not? Because life is change, life is movement. And if we don't move with it, we're not really fully alive. We're living a half-life. It's akin to passive suicide. It's akin to just putting a pause button on our growth and our aliveness and just stagnating and becoming at a space of stalemate where it's just stunted and it can't continue. And so the energy coming forth and the guidance coming forth from Spirit is really kind of doing its best to send ripples of comfort around people, to act like a balm around this time, so that the change doesn't feel so jarring and shocking, and it's not as though there's going to be physical events that will manifest that are really traumatic. It feels very much internal, as though all of the external structures we are participating in our external reality, it's as though all of a sudden it becomes like a dead thing, like the set becomes dead. The set of life becomes dead. It's like, oh, the lights have gone out. There's no power running through the set. It's like we need to leave this set and go on to another one. It's almost as though, everything that we've been living just stops being alive. It's like it just becomes like this empty structure. And if I can compare it to some sort of an analogy, it's as though everything just starts to feel like a doll's house, like it's not really real. It's like it feels fake. It's like I'm not really in a real space of reality, and then you start to not really feel alive. And this is not only quite a melancholic, difficult feeling that can lead us to feel quite low, but it makes us feel very removed from life itself, and it will make us feel as though we're just in this void, as though we're nothing, like in limbo. And it's a very uncomfortable space to be, and if we stay in that space too long, it starts to become very difficult to know how to get out of it. What's the first step to take? So I do feel like this time around the full moon is a really good time to connect to spiritual outlets and to wisdom keepers, and to connect to people who can offer sage-like guidance, and people who are really holding the energy of spirit and of love and of really the best side of the coin in terms of the shift in nature, the shift in the universe. And I really feel the light, and I really feel the movement forwards and the flow. And I feel like seeking out those sources of support, either through people you know, or through online, or through physically out in your local environments, if there's places that you can go to where people are coming together, and really being in alignment with this energy that makes you feel like you are in real time, in synchronization with life, and able to talk about the changes of life, and able to talk about the shifts in energy and what we're all experiencing in real time, like a live, unified collective. It will make this time so much more easy to get through. But if we stay insular, and we're isolating, and we're not really expanding ourselves open to life and to others who are also doing the same, then it feels very lonely and dark and cold and dissatisfying. And it feels as though, if I could give you this idea of a town or a city that just becomes like a ghost town, and the there's growth all over the buildings, like overgrowing, and it's just it's barren, it's vacant, and it's going to feel like life is like this for you if you're still struggling to let go. It's okay if you feel like you can't let go of something, as long as you are leaning into the desire to, and you are seeking help to do so. That's enough. But if you are sitting on things and not really leaning into a change, or leaning in with your effort and your will to change, and you're kind of thinking, oh yeah, I know I need to do that, but not right now, it's going to come back to bite you, because it does feel like this full moon energy is, I don't want to say severe, but it just feels very black and white. It just feels very black and white. So this shift feels very much internal. It doesn't necessarily feel so much how we're playing around with physical piles of things in the external reality. It feels very much how we're showing up, how we're defining ourselves and taking a stand for who we are. It feels very much owning the inner sense of self and bringing that outward into reality. It feels very much about showing our true colours, revealing our true selves. And in every situation, even in situations where it's been scary to do this, it's feeling as though now we've got no choice. It's just going to feel so strange to lie to yourself, and it's going to feel so odd that it's just not going to work for you. And you will feel it. You will just know that, okay, in this situation, in this environment, in this conversation, this is who I am, and this is who I'm needing to be, and this is what I'm needing to say, and this is what I'm needing to do, because it's who I actually feel I am right now. And no more playing around with surfacey things and suppressing our true thoughts and feelings. It really does feel like, okay, in this environment, in this space, in my life right now, with who's around me and what I've got going on, this shift I'm feeling inside of myself, I'm going to bring it full throttle, full force into my life experience. And don't be surprised if all of a sudden there's these splits, these divides, where you just no longer feel like you can see a certain person, feel like no longer feel like you can be in a certain environment, feel like you can no longer watch certain things or do certain things, eat or drink certain things. It just feels very black and white, this shift. It also feels like if you were to keep trying to convince yourself otherwise, the feeling within would just register as just feeling very not it's not even as though you'd feel down or low. You would feel disconnected from reality, disconnected from spirit. You'll feel as though you are outside of the universe itself and left behind. Of course we're not. It's just that's how it feels to us. It's just that's the sensation of being in that space and instead of being in flow. And so it's just the contrast. So don't be alarmed, don't beat yourself up. That feeling is just there to really push us into using our effort and our will and our creativity and reaching out for support to find out, okay, how can I get in sync with life? Because this moon energy, it really does feel like it's saying to all of us, are you in concert with all of life or not? Are you the beings that are going to be in harmony with all of nature, all of me? It feels like life is saying, are you going to come into harmony with me or are you not? Are you going to stay out of synchronization or are you going to come into alignment with me? Because if you don't come into alignment with me, child, it's going to be so unpleasant for you. Why would you want to be left behind? Why don't you join me? Why don't you come with me? And it's not that I'm going to be punishing you or making you feel bad if you don't. It's just that's the result. That's just what happens. It's just what would happen naturally. It's like if you're not going to get in the carriage and enjoy the ride and instead you're just going to hang on to a piece of rope on the back and be dragged along, that's not going to feel very nice, you know? Hanging on to a piece of rope while you're still, struggling with what's behind you, you're just going to be dragged along the ground, ripped apart, devoured by this feeling. And it's as though life is saying, just come with me, just let go, just join in with me. Who are you going to be? What are you going to let go of? Who are you going to let go of in order to feel like you're more in harmony with yourself and with life? What is it that you're needing to do? Because we all could be feeling this right now, this sense of, okay, it really is time to join life now. It really is time to awaken to life and to care about my life and to actually step in to what I feel my intuitive guidance is calling me forth to. This full moon energy does feel very much connected to life purposes, but it also feels very much connected to self-expression and how we define ourselves. And so you may find yourself in the eyes of others just becoming very different all of a sudden. People may be rocked by this, and as I've said already, this could cause rifts or departures from people very instantaneously. Not necessarily in a negative way, but just this natural sense of, that's done. I just no longer can do that anymore. If you're feeling confused, if you're feeling a little lost and low, if you're feeling anxious and worried and overwhelmed and just don't know what to do right now, the reason why ordinary reality is being overwhelmed in this way is because life is trying to really get you to just connect to spirit, connect to your soul, and surrender to the receptivity of what life wants to tell you about you, of what your own deepest inner soul essence wants to reveal to you about you, rather than you being in your mind overthinking, trying to control everything with your actions, constantly in beta mode, having stressful fussy conversations with people, trying to, with your desperate attempts of action, trying to get everything sorted out within yourself and in your life to get back to a space of peace and stability. Like, just drop the act, just stop this. It really does feel like life is putting this spotlight on everyone to say, hey, you need to remember who you are and where you really come from. We were all born into this world and we all leave this world and return to the same space. We all are from source. the source of all that is. And it feels as though the moon is putting the spotlight on each and every one of us to say, are you in harmony with the truth of existence, or are you not? Because right now, this energy is beaming down this very no-nonsense energy, this spotlight, to say, if you are not really living in concert with the truth and the true nature of existence, then are you really existing? Are you really alive? Can you really participate here? Can it really work for you? What is the result of that? If you're not in harmony with all of nature, with all that we really are, then what is that? It's a dead space. It's nothing. It's not really being alive. And that's why if we resist this calling to really come into harmony with nature, to really come into harmony with this energy that's calling all light workers, all beings to come back into the light, to come back into awareness of where we come from, of what we actually are, and who you are, and how you're meant to be in this world according to your soul essence, how you're meant to express yourself. This is one of those full moon moments where it's like really announcing this. And yeah, everyone across the world will feel this along a spectrum in a different way. It's not as though everyone's going to feel this sense of, okay, let's go into my life purpose and remember who I am on a soul level. But you might feel this in a subtle way, in a more diluted way in your own respective life. For example, someone who's not very spiritual, or who has no knowledge of source, or of metaphysical or cosmic things, they might just feel a sense of, okay, I'm really feeling inside of myself that it's time to change. You know, it might be as simple as that. And that really is just stimulus from the soul still. But if we're not listening to that and we're just not paying attention, it's almost as though, I don't mean to sound mean when I say this, but it's like you're just becoming a deadbeat. You're just becoming a nothing. You're not really here. You're an empty shell. You're an empty vessel. Your body will decline. Your light will go. You'll just deteriorate. And the only option then is just to return back home to source, because life's not going to work for you moving forwards if you stay this way. However, aligning with this time of change, this real portal from old to new, from black to white, this totally different space, this completely different space, almost as though the curtain has dropped and it's a new world. This alignment, this cooperation is really going to give you this renewed sense of life, this feeling as though you've been reborn, this feeling as though life is brand new, and this feeling as though you're in this new paradigm, in this new dimension, this new reality, and you'll feel merged with it, and that's the best case scenario. Leaning in is enough. Leaning into this full moon energy, even if it's feeling difficult, if you're feeling emotionally burdened, just lean into it. Try your best to not go into a space of hiding away into comfort zones. Obviously, if you're overwhelmed and you're needing to be there for yourself with some sort of crutch right now, because the other option is some sort of breakdown or self-harm or worse, then it's understandable. As long as somewhere within your consciousness you are leaning into, okay, but I really do want to come in harmony with you, life. Life does hear those little inner whispers from you. But it really is important that we are doing this, that we are leaning in. If we're kind of just closing Pandora's box and just shoving it under the bed and just pretending like it doesn't exist and just not really taking life seriously, and then we're going back into that sleep space that humanity is waking up from, that comatose space of the material world and money and fashion and film, and yeah, all of that stuff's great, it's part of all that is. But if you think that that's just what life is, just being alive, buying clothes, getting a job, being successful, having a family, then poof, dead, that isn't what it's about. It's about being fully alive, fully expanded in your consciousness, fully awakened to the true nature of reality. That's what this awakening is all about. It's like waking us up and waking us up to more and more truth of the nature of the cosmos, and the nature of the truth of the fact that we come from the source of the cosmos, the source of all that is, that which we call God. if we're just staying into the old world and just being like, oh no, well, I don't know if that's real, or I'm just, it's almost as though we're just staying in this vacuum of living quote unquote life, but not really understanding what we're doing. We're just living it, going through the motions. Like, you're not really in concert with life, and life is just going to become like very unfulfilling for you, and it's not going to work for you. And I do feel like this divide between people that are really kind of coming into harmony with life and people that aren't, and the people that aren't, it just feels as though they just don't seem very pleasant anymore. They start to feel like they are steeped in darkness. It starts to feel like they are, and it's not that it's not that they're evil or anything like this. It's just the nature of the contrast. It's just they feel more intolerable to you. And in the same way, if we are the ones resisting, other people, will feel intolerable to them. If they're starting to, pay attention to their inner voice, if they're starting to pay attention to the whispers of life that's calling them forwards into change, because that's all life is, everybody, Life is just this constant unfolding. It's this constant growing and this leaning in towards more experiences and more newness, more creativity, more self-expression, new definitions of self, new spaces of being, new relationships, new projects, and on a macro level, on a more spiritual level, this full moon energy, it's saying, well, with this awakening, it's now time to live life on earth as a human, but with an awakened sense of self, with an awareness of where you come from. Because before, we've kind of just all been living in this space of just so much confusion and mixed opinion, atheism, just when you're dead, and that's it. Religions that are very kind of dysfunctional and corrupt and at loggerheads with each other, people that are just kind of switched off completely, and just literally all they do is go to work, or people that they just literally just float by life, just coast by life, just kind of not really fully alive, fully present, and it's like, that's the old, it's time to go into a new space of life as a human on earth, and live life here with awareness that, oh, actually I'm a soul, and there was something before this, and there's going to be something after this, and it's now feeling natural and right for me to live in this awareness as I live my life on earth, live in this spiritual awareness of that, this origin of me, this origin of all of us, and this connection to nature and the aliveness, and to the fact that there is a great spirit in the sky that is talking to us, that life is talking to us. It's really getting into concert with that, and then on an individual level, how that permeates through into your world, into how you express yourself, how you define yourself, the job that you do, the work that you do, the people that you hang out with, the things that you say, the things that you eat, the stuff you watch, the way you entertain yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress yourself, everything. It's just completely different, completely night and day different. And this has been building and building with momentum, and now it feels as though, bam, the cannonball has erupted. The old candle has blown out. The nighttime has ended, and the sun has risen. The old is done, and it's almost as though there's no longer really any space in between anymore. The full moon energy is giving me this sense of like a 3-day period where it's holding us in this vacuum space where it's not letting you bring in anything from the old into the new. It's just not a match, and trying to fool yourself into thinking that you're just going to feel very, very strange. And this vacuum space, this 3-day period that I'm feeling around this full moon, it's really just giving you just a final bit of grace period to let go. Okay? But this is the full moon message for the 6th of April 2023 from me, Nathaniel Pace, psychic medium. I am available for private readings as well. You can contact me at nathanpace@live.com. And please subscribe and like this video and share if it's been of value to you. And I'll be with you again with some more spirit guided messages for the coming new moon. And until then, take care of yourself. Stay very connected to yourself and to nature, and really listen to life talking to you. And as I said, that practical guidance about this time it's really helpful to seek out spiritual services, spiritual networks of support that are kind of holding the word of spirit, holding the word of the cosmos, holding the, being anchored into the harmony with the cosmos. Seek out those spaces, feel into it, and find out where you feel they could be. Maybe it's at a local spiritualist church, maybe there's a local meditation or spiritual group, maybe there's something online, or maybe there's someone you could watch or listen to that will just help you feel anchored into this awareness, so that you can feel ready, so that when we are going through this shift and it's as though we're on that springboard and we're catapulted forth, that we aren't feeling like we're just being thrown, but that we are being willingly launched forth. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody. Much love.